Weihenstephaner Festbier.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. This is from the oldest, arguably the oldest, I'll get onto that in a bit, arguably the oldest brewery in the world. This is the Weihenstephaner Festbier. Right, I've tried this before. I've done it about 3 years ago and it was absolutely effing stonking. These are a great brewery. They've been going since 1040, allegedly. Now, there is some controversy around that. There's two breweries that are vying for the spot for being the oldest brewery in the world. The other one is the Kloster Weltenberg Brewery, which, again, based in Bavaria. Now, they are another fantastic brewery. I mean, they really are outstanding, just like this lot. I first discovered this lot when I lived in the hellhole. That was Loughton in Essex, and opposite to where I lived on the main drag. It's called Queen's Street or Queen's Road? Can't remember. Queen's Road maybe. But I lived right opposite the Waitrose there. Yeah, that's how posh it was. And a rough bloke like me living there, yeah, it was a match made in hell. But I do say that out of all bad situations, good will come. And I did discover Weihenstephaner there. And they used to do their Dunkel and their normal Weissbier. The Weissbier and the Dunkel Weiss. The Weissbier I still hold up as being one of the best that I've tasted. I think the Schneider Weiss is just slightly better, but the two of them are just fucking top of the tree. Absolutely superb. And everything they do is superb. I don't think I've had a bad beer from them. And this stuff, from what I remember, is absolutely sublime. And why am I reviewing it again? Well, it's kind of Oktoberfest, even though Oktoberfest is in September. Work that one out. I don't know. But it's still October, so I thought, you know what? Let's get some fest beer on the go. I really do want to get hold of some Hacker-Shaw. I might do, if I can afford it, I'll do it this month. Revisit that stuff as well, because that is absolutely fucking superb as well. Anyway, I'm rambling. Weihenstephaner, supposedly the oldest brewery in the world. Disputed by Kloster Weltenberg. Kloster Weltenberg have actually got documentation to say they were Weihenstephaner were founded in 1040. I think Kloster Weltenberg were founded in 1050. They have got documentation to prove they were around from 1040. They reckon that the documentation, which is basically a receipt for, I think it's malt for brewing, is a forgery. It's a 16th century forgery, and this lot weren't really founded in 1040. The jury's out. To me, it doesn't really matter. The two breweries are fantastic. As long as they continue brewing beer, then that is okay by me. Needless to say, they're both great breweries, and this lot, they've surpassed themselves. I didn't think they could get. I thought that the Weissbier was the best I was ever going to taste from them, and then I tasted their Helles, and it was absolutely out of this world. It was fucking fantastic. Then they do a Doppelbock as well, and I think, what's that called? It's not the Corbinian. Is it Corbinian? That's what it is. It's fantastic stuff. It will blow your fucking head off, but what a way to go. But yeah, the Festbier, of course, Festbier, very loose term. It's usually a Märzen brewed for special occasions. Now, that's, as I say, Festbier is a loose term. Not as loose as Landbier. Landbier is a very, very generic term. But Festbier is usually Märzen that is brewed for special occasions, not just the Oktoberfest. But they also do a winter Festbier as well. And I'm not sure, I suppose that's a Christmas type beer. But I've tried them both and they're fantastic. So why am I revisiting it? Well, yeah, as I say, I've been doing quite a few Festbiers, and I don't think I could do a Festbier review if I didn't include this lot. Now, Festbiers occasionally differ from year to year. It all depends on the hop yield, the weather, the geology of where the ingredients come from. Usually the hops will come from the Hallertau region, the malt will come from a local farmer, but subtle changes in the weather, subtle changes in the geology, etc., every year do give the beer a slightly different taste. Now, how much of that you'll notice, I don't know, but I've decided to do this again because I was browsing the house of Trembling Madness, and this is one of the first beers that popped up, and I thought, right, I'm fucking getting that. As I was actually buying a load of German beer for me mate who's coming over this Sunday. He's bringing over some more Oktoberfest for me. I think I've got some Löwenbräu coming over. I've also got some of the Augustiner Festbier as well. That was really hard to get hold of for him in Germany, and I've noticed that it's very hard to get hold of here. I don't know what the story is behind that. Very, very strange that you can't get that in abundance like you can with the Paulaner stuff, which is available in Aldi. And of course you had the Lidl Oktoberfest pack, which was really good. Stand out for me, and that one was the Hohentanner, the Festbier that they did. That was absolutely fantastic. One of the best Festbiers I've tasted. One of the best Märzens I've tasted as well. Really, really outstanding beer. 10 out of 10 all day long. And I think the last mark I give this was 9.5. I don't know why I didn't give it a 10. Maybe I was comparing it to other Festbiers at the time. But I want to try it on its own. And I want to see, is it as good as I remember it? Because I do remember this being absolutely outstanding. I don't want to go too much into the history. I've touched on the history of the brewery. There's a lot more to it than that, obviously. But if you look at the other Weihenstephaner beers that I've reviewed, you will get all that. Yeah, so let's get on to the next section and let's stop effing well waffling. Right, this is a Festbier. I'm assuming this is a Märzen, but Festbiers, as I say, it's a little bit of a loose term. You can get Helles style beers and you can also get Märzen style beers. There's a subtle difference between the two. The Märzens are quite malt forward, more so than the Helleses. The Helleses have got a nice balance of noble hop, bitterness and herbal notes. And the Märzens are slightly sweeter, more malt forward. But they're both great beers, all bottom fermented, of course. This is a 500ml bottle. It is, I think it's 5.8%, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 5.8%. Conforms to the Bavarian Reinheitsgebot. Doesn't really mean much. That's a very, very ambiguous term, in my opinion. If you watch my other videos, I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. Not going to do it here. I just want to get this bad boy open. What does this say? Kult und dunkel lagern. Oh, that means store in a cold, dark place. There's the geographical protected status on there, as if you needed to see that. It is a genuine Bavarian beer, and that is about it, really. Yeah, Weihenstephaner Festbier. Let's get it open and let's see what's going on. Right, I found this the other day. This is my, what is this? No, it's not. I've got an Ironed Coupe bottle opener. These little bottle openers here. Years ago, landlords used to have these in their pockets, and if anybody had ordered a bottle of beer, they would just whack it open and give it to the customer. But they're very small. I always carry one around with me. I've got a Fremlins Brewery, who are a Kent brewery. They were based in Maidstone, sadly gone now, but I managed to pick one of theirs up, and just to prove that I'm not lying, I will show it to you. I've got it on a keychain here, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got, come on, autofocus, do your thing. There you go, Fremlins Brewery. I carry that around with me everywhere I go, and you would not believe how handy that comes in. Now, I used to open bottles with my teeth. Unfortunately, I fucking lost the tooth, so I can't do it no more. And I wouldn't recommend it, kids. So, yeah, don't open bottles of beer with your teeth. But I've done that for years. And yeah, I wouldn't say it was a party trick, but that came in handy. Now that my tooth's fucking falling out, I've had to carry one of these about. But they used to have these in the brewery as well. So if they were brewing beer in the brewery and they wanted to taste what it tasted, what a bottle of beer was like, then the brewer would carry it around with him, head brewer, open up a random bottle, taste it, see what it was like. What a job. Anyway, gonna get it open there. I will say about them bottle openers, they do mangle the cap up slightly, so I wouldn't, if you're a cap collector, then I wouldn't recommend them, because they just fucking chew them up and spit them out. There you go. Come on, autofocus, you tosser. Right, there you go, there's the cap. Right, let's get it into ye olde glass. I am using a Weihenstephaner glass that was kindly brought over to me by my mate from Germany, Norby. Thank you very much for that, mate. I am putting that into good use. And there you go. Right, yeah, so it does look like that this glass is fucking dirty, but it does look like it's one of them lighter coloured beers. It's not a Märzen, not like the Hohentanner, which was a very, very amber colour. This is one of the lighter coloured fest beers, more akin to a strong Helles on the nose. Oh, well, fucking hell, that just smells absolutely amazing. Real strong bready notes coming from that. Some very, very subtle noble hop notes on there as well, but they're not big. When I say noble hops, I'm talking sort of like hay, slight floral notes on there as well. But it smells nice. I will say that there's a sweetness coming from it now as well. That does smell really good, like sweet bread and freshly cut grass. Absolutely fucking lovely. Right, let's get it down my fat Gregory Peck. Zum Wohl, as they say in Germany. Oh, that's got a weird taste to it. What was going on there? This could be a little bit cold. I've just pulled it straight out of the fridge, and this room is quite cold as well. But I'm going to soldier on. First, no, it wasn't diacetyl, but it's that slight creaminess that you get with certain ales, and it's a sweet, sort of creamy type flavour to it. And this is very full bodied, and I've just tried the Hawkstone Sundowner, which had a very, very thin body. They used rice in it as well, which to me was a big fucking mistake, and they used Olicana hops, which was an even bigger mistake putting in a lager. And they were charging £3 fucking 10 for 330ml. In the words of Catherine Tate, what a fucking liberty. I'm not sure about this. There's a bitterness on that. Oh, hang on. Now there comes the finish. This is a really interesting beer. It's one of them beers. It reminds me of the first time I tried Gers, or Huza, as they call it in Belgium. I remember I'd never tried it before, and a mate of mine bought me some, and I tried it, and in the mouth it tasted absolutely disgusting. I remember thinking, this is horrible. Then I swallowed it, and then the finish came along, and it was just so Moorish, and I thought, that's amazing. That is a tale of two beers. On the palate, not very nice, but the finish is absolutely gorgeous. And it's a little bit like this with this beer, and I don't know, I don't recall it being this much of a sort of a contrast between the two flavours. Let me try again. That's really strange, and I'm trying to describe what the flavour is, and the adjectives are really, really difficult to discern. This isn't as I recall it. unfortunately. Because when I tried it, I do recall when I tried it last time, if you watch my original review of the Festbier from Weihenstephaner, it was sublime. This, I don't know what's going on. The finish is what I remember. The finish is huge. It's just on the palate. There's a distinct lack of flavour. Now, I think this is a little bit too cold. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it for a bit. I'm going to let it slightly warm up, and then hopefully some of them flavours will come out. As I've always said, the temperature that you serve your beer is really, really important, because the reason I think I'm having trouble describing these flavours is this beer is really cold. It's just come out of the fridge, and it's not me saying this. This is a proven fact. You can Google it. But beer below a certain temperature, I think it's 2 or 3 degrees. I'm not sure. I'd need to bone up on that. But you will disguise a lot of flavours. The palate or your tongue, the receptors on your tongue, cannot discern flavours below a certain amount of degrees. So hence the reason why you get ice cold beer in America that really doesn't taste of much, and in hot countries as well. And hence the reason, in my opinion, where beer that's brewed in hot countries is slightly lacking in flavour, because it's all about the refreshment in them countries. It's not about the flavour to an extent. But with this, yeah, I'm kind of getting mixed messages. Now I'm going to leave that for a bit just to warm up, and then when I come back, I'll give you another round of opinions. And we're back in the room. Now this is warmed up a little bit, and I'm going to dive in again. So here we go. Yeah. And that's kind of what I'd be expecting. The IBUs on this are 26, and that's about average for a lager, a German Helles, and more of the flavours are coming through now. So they're on the palate. There's a little bit more of that noble hop bitterness that wasn't coming through before. Now that the temperature has just risen by a couple of degrees, that's all coming through as well. The finish is even bigger now. That's just that liquid bread type finish that is synonymous with all of these fest beers, and it really is big on this. And it's turned out to be actually really nice. And it just goes to show that if you drink beer too cold and you're into your flavours, you are going to miss a hell of a lot if you don't get the flavour exactly right. Now, on the German websites, on the German brewery websites, you will see the recommended serving temperature. That's not there for show. There's a reason for that. And I'm saying that on German websites. They do it on some of the British brewers' websites as well, and the Belgian brewers too. And it really is a thing. So don't take that lightly, and don't think that's pretentious, because the proof really is there that if you serve beer too cold, then yeah, in the summer I get it. It's, you just want a cold beer and all that. You're not too fussed about the flavour. Then yeah, you can more or less drink anything. I'm not saying you should, but if you want a quality beer that's refreshing, then just by leaving it up a couple of degrees, you're going to get a hell of a lot more flavour. I suppose in the summer, it is relatively chilly now. This is October, and the weather has turned a little bit. You're going to miss out on a lot of flavour if you drink the beer too cold. But it really is nice. I do like that. And there's so much more complexity to the flavour now as well. There's quite a bitter seam on that. And it's like almost like a Pilsner. In a blindfold test, if you said to me this beer came from Germany, what style is it? I would have said a Pilsner, because there's a hell of a lot of that almost Sarts type. I know there's no, I don't think there is, I don't think there's any Sarts hops in this, but it does remind me of that Sarts, almost Bohemian style, pale lager, almost Pilsner style flavour to it. But the bitterness on here is big, but it's nice. When I say bitterness, I don't mean that in a bad way. It complements the malts on this really nicely. Yeah, lovely. Absolutely no complaints whatsoever. It's pretty hefty. It's 5.8%. So I'm not sure if there's a little trace of ethanol on there, buried amongst that bitterness. It does come across as a sort of a noble hop type bitterness on there, but I think there may be just a trace of ethanol on there as well. But it's really nice, very drinkable as well. The good thing about this is it's not, well, good, depends which way you look at it. You kind of know you're drinking a hefty beer. 5.8%, yeah, you're pushing it. My session limit, I mean, some people may beg to differ on this, but I would go anything up to 5% is sessionable. And when I say 5%, I'm talking about lagers and stuff like that. Some people may think that anything between 3.8 and 4.5 is what a session beer is, and they have a valid reason for saying that. I suppose, you know, if you don't want to get too langered and you want to go out for a long drink, then yeah, that is a sensible ABV. But I prefer a little bit more kick and a bit more heft in the beer. So 5% for me is my sort of session limit. 5.8%, and you're in the treat it with respect territory, and that's what this is. And you kind of get that on the flavour as well. But you've got that big bready malt backbone to it. But the bitterness on that is really coming through. On the palate, bitter, almost like a Pilsner. It wasn't like that before. I looked at my tasting notes before, just to compare. And I think it was two years ago maybe, this was quite sweet. I did put it down, it was quite sweet. It appears to have changed. And my palate hasn't changed that much to come across and think that this at one point was sweet. This is definitely bitter in a nice way. I quite like it. It's different. Yeah, bitter on the palate, like a black pepper, almost green grass, dark green bitterness, dark green grass bitterness on there. And the finish is just that liquid bread with, again, a little bit more bitterness. I will say, if you're into your Pilsners, you're going to like this. This has definitely got an air of a North German Pilsner, where they've got that real big hop bitterness on there. Now, this isn't a Märzen. Märzen is darker, it's sweeter. This is a style all of its own, and fuck me, I have gone through it like a rate of knots. So that's how good it is, and I really need to calm this down because it's 5.8% and it's a fucking school night and I've got work in the morning. So I'm going to leave it at that, but needless to say, this is really nice. So what's the verdict on Weihenstephaner Festbier? Well, this is proof that the flavours change from year to year, because 2 years ago I had this marked down as being quite sweet. It's anything but sweet on the palate. It's almost like a Pilsner. It's not in the Jever. If you've ever tasted Jever Pilsner, that's a North German Pilsner. That is bitterness to the extreme. But it's very bitter. In a blindfold test, I would have said that is a Pilsner of some description. It's not. It's a Festbier, and it's definitely changed from 2 years ago. I wouldn't say for the good, but it's good. I do like it. How would it have fared against the little Oktoberfest pack? Well, to be honest, I don't think it would have been as good as the Hohentanner stuff. Hohentanner stuff, I should say. That got a 10 out of 10. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. A solid 8 out of 10. It's really nice, don't get me wrong. It's drinkable, as you can see. I mean, I've caned that. And it's quite complex. It's got a lot of noble hop bitterness on there. A really nice big finish on it as well. However, I'm thinking the Hohentanner Märzen Festbier. I'm thinking the Hacker-Shaw Festbier as well. I'm thinking the Hacker-Shaw Superior Festbier, which I haven't seen in a long time. That for me was outstanding, sublime. And yeah, this doesn't really come up to that standard, but it is still good. And I'm being as harsh as I can on it because this is a Bavarian brewer, one of the oldest, well, arguably the oldest Bavarian brewer. And yeah, I think they're maybe better out there. How much did this cost me? This was from House Trembling Madness. They've still got some going down on there. Weihenstephaner Festbier, £3.50. Well, there you go, £3.50 for 500ml of a quality lager. And then you've got the Hawkstone stuff, 330ml for £3.10. That's a fucking no-brainer, if ever there was one. But that's really good. I really do like that. And that's going to get a solid 8 out of 10. And it's recommended, but if you're going to be spending $3.50, I would say the Paulaner is better. The Paulaner Oktoberfest beer is better. What else? Would the Spartan Oktoberfest beer be better? Probably not. The Hohentanner definitely. For me, that is the standout fest beer of the year. The Hohentanner Märzen. But this is still good. Don't get me wrong. So yeah, I think 8 out of 10 is a fair mark. And if you see it and there's nothing else, then it's probably worth getting. But yeah, quite nice. I do like that. I must admit though, there is better out there. And remember, beer is working class champagne.